Wonder if we can call our meeting to order, please. We had Happy New Year to all concerned. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes of 11/28? Supervisor Beatty, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. All in favor?
Aye.
Wayne, go for it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason for this meeting at this point in time was that the state has announced agenda item number 1 there under committee actions has identified that they will be doing the aerial imagery of the county again next year, and you know, in their way of doing business, they give us like 30 days to get a response back to them and a commitment. Now, the department would encourage the upgrade of the aerial imagery to a higher resolution, especially with the enhanced 911 that we're rolling out. I've talked with the budget officer, and the funding for this would have to go into next year's budget. So it's not a this year thing, but you know, with the realization that come budget time, we would have to include the $69,000 for the upgrade. So I provided the state agreement, which the county attorney has, and they require a commitment from the county by the 8th of February, given that I wouldn't have had a committee meeting till the end of the month, and the February board meeting would have been after the submission date of the information. I talked with Supervisor Garrity, then chairman, and we decided to have this meeting. So, hence it's before the committee.
It says in here option for us to upgrade.
Yes.
$70,000 is a lot of money. So, first question is, do all the other counties, not that I follow them, but do all the other counties prefer to pay $70,000 to upgrade? That's question 1. And then question 2 is, if so, what do we need the actual upgrade? I mean, obviously they're providing us with the aerial. According to this, as an option, if you want to upgrade it for $70,000.
That is correct. I can't speak for other counties. I don't know what they're doing. This announcement just came out. I know the last time this was offered, we did participate in part of the upgrade. Then it was more selective. You could go by community. And you know, I said the same thing when I first saw this, and I talked it over with Sarah. And the whole point is, with the enhanced 911 that will be dispatched to all the EMS crews, this allows for them to see what's on the ground. The imagery that we get right now from the state is adequate for planning purposes, but not for, I think, emergency service purposes. And yes, it's a lot of money, but I will say that in the GIS world, data is the most expensive component. And that when we first did the aerial imagery and the GIS implementation back with a company in Vermont years ago, we paid $1.1 million for the initial data. To update it and keep it current for this amount is not a significant investment compared to what's already in the system.
Supervisor Garrity had a question, yes.
Yeah, no, I don't have a question. I just had a statement. We went to, was it Fulton or Montgomery County, where we saw what they do with their 911 system with this imagery, and it does. It helps the fire departments because they are going to have tablets in their fire trucks now. It gives them an idea what's happening. I know it's very important to police when they go on the scene. They could see the buildings, the sheds, this and that, and we saw that out there. So I do think, Doug, although it's a lot of money, I do think it's important that we stay up with this technology, and I do think, you know, we may not see the tangible advantages right away, but with the upgrades they're making for the fire service and the police service, I think this goes hand in hand. And I know that we paid to get the better resolution in Warrensburg the last time we did it, and through our towns, And, I think it's helpful, but and I think that's why they're going this way, is for the police and the fire. Like I said, the fire departments are gonna carry tablets now in their trucks, so they know what they're doing more about it.
Supervisor Stroud.
Thank you. Yeah, I talked to George Hilton, our GPS guy, that, you know, just about everybody uses at one time or another, and we work with the county as well. And, he thought it was very important that we have the upgraded version, that there are a lot of advantages to it, and I said, well, you know, 7,000 is a little pricey, how come it's falling on Warren County, when so many others in the geographic area that applies to will benefit as well? He said he thought, I don't know, that would rotate. County's turn to put in for it, but I don't know about that, that's what he thought. And so we need to find out more detail on that, but my point being is that my GPS guy says there's a lot of advantages to going with greater, more detailed, and they show me, he contrasted the two, and too bad you didn't have the advantage of having that here, of the much more detailed version. And I could see where the advantages would be with that. Why we're being charged extra for that? I mean, is it like the cable companies, they send it to your house, you know, and then they downgrade it if you don't pay for it? I don't know, but the greater detail appears to be worth it according to our GPS guy.
Chairman Conover.
This would be part of our, spatial data viewer program.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and the last time the aerials were updated were what year?
2008.
2008. You know, this is a tool that's become a very important tool for people in our private sector as well. Particularly people, our real estate and development people, planning and zoning people. It's really if you've not been on it, it's really a terrific tool. Just wanted to make sure, and it's been some time, so there's been a lot of changes. The building was demolished, new construction, and that's where the police and fire have come into play. But also, I think, other parts of our community, the average citizen can pull up on their home computer now an aerial, their block. They can look at their own residential property. It's quite the program. It's a great application.
Yeah, go ahead. Supervisor
Thank you,
Sokol.
Mr. Chairman. Just looking at this and looking into the future, it strikes me that this is pretty similar to public health, where we have our yearly contracts. I mean, this is going to be a need. I'm wondering if maybe we could look into getting something done every year, every 2 years. It'll cut down probably on the cost. This is what, by the time this gets implemented, it's going to be 5 years?
Correct.
So, I mean, if we did something maybe every couple of years, I don't know if that's possible or not. Or
If I may,
yeah.
the state is the one that's flying this.
Oh. Okay.
And they're already paying roughly $1 million to have the county flown. And this is the upgrade to increase that resolution and the control points on the ground. What it really relates to is if you drive up Warrensburg, off of the Warrensburg exit, if you look, you'll see in the summer, you'll see a white stripe or cross just off the exit. That's one of the geographic control points that they use when they do the aerial imagery, and then they rectify the imagery to that. For this purpose, what they're doing is a much tighter control, and they're using basically, instead of, if you notice, those panels are like 2 feet wide. So instead of using the 2 foot on the panel, they use a dot in the center for their geographic reference. So it's a much tighter control, and you can get a much better resolution throughout. So, so in answer to your question, it's not our impetus that we're doing this, it's we're taking advantage of the state that's already flying it, and if we want the better resolution for the enhanced 911 and other applications, we have the opportunity.
Yeah, I've used the services myself, and gotten aerials from Lexi, and what and the aerials and the professionalism of our office in Warren County is spectacular, comparatively speaking. I've used Albany, I've used Saratoga, I've used Washington County. Up until the last couple of years, there was no comparison with our ability to quickly produce an aerial. And it's interesting what an aerial would do in terms of really telling a story, you know, about a site, about a corner, about the ability to pinpoint a piece of geography. And Doug and I have spoken about this in our old lives. I used to do demographic studies on sites, and what we would do is we would take a particular site in a corner, for example. We would draw a 1 mile circle around the site, a 3 mile circle, a 5 mile circle, and you would take this site and you would ask a series of questions relative to this site. What kind of people live around here? What's the traffic count? What kind of homes are around here? And what are the factors that go into making this an attractive piece of real estate? But at the end of the day, the ability of a county to provide those kind of services just talks to the very intelligence of the people that make up the county, and it gives us a profile of the human beings, which I think makes it attractive for people wanting to locate here or get involved in industrial or commercial activity. So. Very good, Wayne. You're up. Oh, did you want to say something, Craig? Yeah.
So the difference between the 1 foot and the half a foot resolution, is that significant?
Yes. I was not convinced until I saw, like, Supervisor Garrity and others, the actual on the screen and on the ground difference.
Okay. And then this will feed into the Warren County GIS.
Absolutely.
Tax map, things that we have here. So will those property lines then come out closer to where they should be on that?
We can only hope.
Okay. And then also in the material there was a study that was done about the economic impact of it, but it didn't seem to get down into the detail of the economic impact of a foot to a half a foot versus nothing to a foot. You know, is there any greater economic impact by having this?
You know, I think when you, like as Chairman McDivitt was indicating, when you have a business, especially through EDC, looking online at sites, this gives them a much better clarity of what the site potential is. And if they're looking at 25 different sites across the country, or across the Northeast, the clarity and the resolution, you know, allows them to make a more informed or intelligent choice as to whether to check this one off or come look at it.
And if one of the biggest beneficiaries are going to be our emergency services, are they pitching in for this?
We asked and they said they didn't have money, so.
Well, you don't have money either.
Well, that's why I called Supervisor Thomas first thing and said, you know,
You think
it'd have to be part of next year's budget.
Right.
And whether there's a revenue source we can find in the interim, I don't know. But I'm not going to count on it. We'll certainly look.
But given that much time, it's something that could perhaps then be shared with another budget code and planning?
That potential is there. That's up to you as the board as to whether, you know, another department's going to get a cost share.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we have a motion on the floor for this? Do
We
we
do
need
not.
one to
Why
get it
don't
on
we,
for
why
this?
don't we get one? It would be nice.
Okay.
Supervisor Sokol, second by Supervisor Simpson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carry on, Wayne.
Okay, the second one, and I wish the county attorney was here because he could speak to part of this. The county has a contract with IBI Group that was interesting. It's grant funded, and it's through Department of State, and the IBI Group is doing an economic study on the connection of North Creek to Rensselaer Station, and, come to find out, they were awarded the bid, and they're, because it was over a certain amount, I don't know what the threshold was, Department of State looked at some things and found out that they were not, even though they had an Albany and a New York office, they'd never filed their paperwork to do business in New York. So it took a while to get all that squared away. And then because Amtrak is a participant in this as far as their numbers, they required the county to sign a non-disclosure agreement. The county attorney and Amtrak had some discussions, and that took about 6 months before we were, before the county signed the non-disclosure agreement with certain understandings. In that time, the agreement with IBI expired. So what I'd like to do is extend that out through August of next year, which would allow us time to complete it. The work has already started, but it got kind of stagnated waiting for the non-disclosure agreement with Amtrak.
Great. Any questions on that? Can we get a resolution to extend the contract with the IBI group? Go ahead, Claudia.
I just have concerns about extending with them when they did this. Does anyone have any concern about their work product?
No, their work product is very good, and DOT uses them extensively. But
New York DOT?
New York DOT, and when I brought that up to DOT, because I sit on the Transportation Council, they found it rather humorous that after all this time, it was finally determined that they hadn't supplied the sufficient paperwork, which has been taken care of.
Any further questions? We are moved by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Leggett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carry on, Wayne.
The third resolution is to, actually it's for a new contract, even though it's kind of an extension with Mohawk Valley GIS for $3,200. Their contract expired, they completed their work program. I had to wait for this year's budget to take effect to do an extension of their work. And what we found is, this is to deploy the tablets and the phone app for the emergency services. And everything worked fine until in the Android system, the phone or the tablet would go to sleep to save battery power, and the 911 dispatching won't wake it up. So this was, they're going to do a workaround in the Android operating system that would keep that app open all the time in the background, such that if they got a call, it would come through and the tablet would identify the site and show them the aerial imagery and all the building permits and everything on the site. So, talking with the we did a test case with Glens Falls and with Hague, have had the tablets, and they're finding they're going to sleep, and then they're not fulfilling the function. So we'd like to do this workaround. As I said, we put the money in the budget to do this.
You've got a motion by Supervisor, is that a question or a motion?
No, it was a motion.
A motion by Supervisor Sokol to authorize the contract with Mohawk Valley GIS. Can we get a second? Supervisor Leggett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Also in your packet, item number 4 is annual training. Marty in the office does fire inspections. This is their annual training they do up in Lake Placid. So there's a request for the committee approval because it's in-state to do the training.
Supervisor Simpson moves it, second by Claudia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, on page 19 of your packet, the department by resolution handles the county planning board function under General Municipal Law, Section 239 L and M. There is a requirement that yearly there is a report to the board, and so you will see on page 19 the department's report to the board on planning referrals to Warren County. There were 315 over the year that we reviewed. surprisingly, or not surprisingly, Bolton and Queensbury drive the agenda as far as the number of projects, so, and that has held true, throughout. And I will note that in 2015, there were 241 projects, so this is a significant increase, which, to me, either indicates that there's a, push for new development, or modifications of existing developments. So, most of the increases were in the site plan side of things, so that generally means somebody's reconfiguring a site or developing a site. So, I think that bodes well towards the future. Because there are some new members on the committee, on page 20 I included a table of organization for the department as to, and kind of a functionality chart. And as far as the agenda items go, that's all I had. There's a couple other things I would like to add. At the time, Chairman Garrity, because it was December 8th, received a letter that the county was successful in securing funding under the CFA. The county was awarded $520,300 under the local waterfront program for 10 different projects. I handed out a listing of those projects. So it's with the matching funds provided by the local municipalities and project sponsors, it's over $1 million project. So we're happy with that, and it'll keep us busy for a while. The second item I'd like to share with the committee is the county had received funding under the Community Development Block Grant Program to assist with the development of the new Hudson Headwaters facility in Warrensburg. We participated financially in that. The state came and did a monitoring visit, and we are happy to report that there were no findings. There was one concern relative to procurement process, and we take exception to that, but we will make their suggested recommendations in that there was supposed to be some particular language, federal language in the contract document. The contract document was done by a third party, and in the bid document was the language. The bid document became part of the contract, but they wanted the language put in the contract document itself, not by reference with, so we will note that in the future we will do that. So that's all I had. Other than that, we had a good monitoring visit, and that project will be closed out.
Great. Thank you very much, Wayne. Just one observation. I mentioned this to John Stroud the other day, but there was an article in a New York paper about a week ago that talked to job creation in the country, and one of the job that is going to be one of the more popular and prevalent jobs throughout our country is a wind technician, someone that's involved with analyzing, diagnosing kind of the things that go on with the generation of electricity as far as wind is concerned. So all of us.
The Adirondack Park.
That's an excellent example, and I thought of that as I read the article, okay? And just a couple of observations, and maybe on a personal note, I have a nephew, Adam, who lives in Albany. Adam is 25 years old, but Adam is a wind technician. He went to Clinton Community College. He got a degree or whatever he got at Clinton, and he initially ended up with a job in Texas, and he did not quite care for that. But he now works for GE down in the Albany area, and he lives in the Albany area and is a wind technician. And he sits at a computer screen. We went to an event a couple of weeks ago, and I was chatting with him, and he sits at a computer screen, and he looks at a wind farm across the globe, and he modifies via computer, those kind of issues. So it was just interesting to see, since this committee is hopefully is a job creation committee, that maybe we can maybe pass that along to the college with John and Rachel, and just to see if there possibly is a need for that kind of, educational course at our college. And a thing that has always, confused me, and Supervisor Garrity just mentioned it. I mean, we have 6 million acres in the Adirondacks, and we somehow it's just not environmentally correct to put a wind farm, you know, somewhere in the Adirondacks. And I've never, you know, again, with 6 million acres, it would seem as if we could somehow find a compatible and reasonable solution to generate jobs, provide renewable energy, and keep peace with the folks that, you know, are running the APA. So I've always been confused on that issue. Go ahead, Matt.
We can't even get access to the Adirondacks, so I don't know how we're gonna get wind farms.
I think you should have that same conversation with Chuck Barton.
Right.
Right, it's been waiting years.
What's that?
Barton's Mine's been waiting years to
Yeah.
get a wind tower up there.
Is that right?
Years.
Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
right? Wow.
Years.
They've done all the modeling, all the APA stuff, and.
Got the balloons in the
spent-
air,
They
And-
spent $12
and-
million
and-
in studies, and
Is it an APA issue, ultimately?
I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, for the life of me, I mean, Barton's a good man. I mean, he's an intelligent guy. This is not like, you know.
In the, Northwoods in Maine, you'll see wind farms all along the ridges on the western mountains between Canada and Maine. See them all over.
Mhm.
Tug Hill, we go
Tug
up
Hill.
there.
Yeah.
Plattsburgh,
That
in New York.
Canadian air is better, stronger.
And it's amazing. I drove an ATV to the bottom of one of these things,
Yeah.
and they're just massive in there.
Yeah,
We've walked them, haven't we, Frank? Me and the cows up there in Lewis County, we went up there.
So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I
okay.
have one
Go ahead.
question about that
Go ahead.
job, about the, measures the air. Does he measure hot air? 'Cause we could get him here someday.
He could probably be gained,
I was gonna say, there's
he'd get a
an
good
awful lot.
job here, wouldn't he? You know,
The whole
he'd-
staff.
No, no question.
Yeah, well.
Okay, anything else? Can we get a motion to adjourn? Matt, and seconded by Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Interesting, just a parting note here, this is an interesting gavel here, some individual sent me a video this weekend, and it was a video of, what's the community, Thurman, and it was, their last, public meeting in Thurman, and I've never seen a chairman hit the gavel so hard as, Supervisor Wood did. I think she must have broken the gavel, I think, but there, was you could sell tickets, we could fill our Civic Center with the next meeting at Thurman, I think, so it's,
Tomorrow night.
is it tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night,
Get there early?
So,
I don't go anywhere,
but it was, if you haven't seen that video, you ought to take a look at it, it's fun, so.
I just wanna say thanks for showing